Drew Arno, born May 25, 1973, better known by his stage name as Dillinger, formerly Dat Nigga Daz, is an American hip-hop recording artist and record producer from Long Beach, California. Dillinger is best known for his membership in the duo Tha Dogg Pound, alongside Corrupt, as well as his work with Death Row Records. Daz began his career on Death Row Records as a producer for co-founder Suge Knight's Paradise. He was signed to the label and subsequently began working with Dr. Dre on the breakthrough West Coast album, The Chronic. During its recording, he met and grew close to Corrupt, with whom he would soon work professionally. The two formed Tha Dogg Pound for Doggy Style, the debut album of his cousin, up-and-coming star Snoop Dogg. The critically acclaimed album, as well as their later single What Would You Do?, saw Tha Dogg Pound partake in the rivalry between Dr. Dre and former NWA groupmate Eazy-E, by dissing artists on Eazy's Ruthless Records. Daz Dillinger was more heavily involved in Doggy Style than Corrupt. While it was produced and mixed by Dre, Daz was featured on one track and received co-production credit on two, Serial Killa and for Oh My Niggas and Bitches. He also produced tracks for Above the Rim and Murder Was the Case soundtracks. Subsequently, Daz and Corrupt put out their debut group album, Dog Food, to rave reviews and platinum sales. While the duo dissed Truthless XBG Knockout and Drista and Bone Thugs and Harmony on the album, Dog Food also saw the duo engage in yet another conflict, this time the beef Suge and new signee Tupac initiated against Bad Boy Entertainment's Puff Daddy and Notorious B.I.G. Daz and Corrupt released their Snoop Dogg-assisted single New York, New York, which slighted the East Coast hip-hop scene. The single initiated a response called L.A. by East Coast rappers Capone and Noreaga, Tragedy Gaddafi and Mobb Deep in a collaboration effort. As the East Coast-West Coast rivalry escalated in early 1996, and Suge Knight's increasingly intense strong-arm tactics entered the studio, head producer Dr. Dre steadily grew resentful of the label's dangerous atmosphere. Beginning with Dog Food, which Daz produced, Dre no longer produced whole Death Row albums. In his latter days as in-house producer, he worked only with Tupac, producing 3 tracks, California Love, which was originally supposed to appear on the Aftermath compilation album, California Love Remix, and Can't See Me, for the rapper's definitive album All Eyes on Me. Even before Dre left the label to found his own Aftermath Entertainment, Daz went to produce the hit songs 2 of America's Most Wanted, Ambitions as a Rida, and I Ain't Mad at Ya, among other tracks, which solidified his status as a talented and successful producer. Arno effectively took over as head producer, crafting 5 tracks on the double album's first disc and providing some beats for Snoop Dogg's sophomore effort, Tha Dogg Fodder, from which Dre's production was absent. His status as head producer was made official once Dre left, and continued on even after Tupac's murder and the artist's exodus it initiated. During his tenure heading the label's sound, Daz contributed production to the gridlocked soundtrack, Lady of Rage's Necessary Roughness, and Nate Dogg's G-Funk Classics, Volume 1. His production would also pop up on the unofficial Snoop Dogg release Dead Man Walkin' put out by Suge in 2001, after Daz himself had left the label. Dillinger went on to put out his own solo album, Retaliation, Revenge and Get Back on Death Row in 1998. Nate Dogg, Corrupt and Snoop had already left the label, followed shortly thereafter by Daz himself. During this time a short-lived feud sparked between Daz and Snoop, regarding the latter's words against Suge Knight and the former's status at the label and disses inherent in the album, which Snoop Dogg later dropped out of respect for his song. After ending his tenure at Death Row, Arno would go on to produce for acts like Corrupt, Superfly, and Be Legit. He put out the album REW in 2000. The flagship release for his own DPG Records, which would for some time function as a vehicle for releasing solo albums. He and Corrupt united in 2001 for a second album, Dillinger and Young Gotti, which received mixed reviews. Under the name DPG, as Suge still owned rights to the name Tha Dogg Pound at the time. The group unity was short-lived. as Crip would subsequently re-sign with Death Row, prompting his former groupmate to diss him several times in song and interviews. Daz dissed Death Row with "Catch You in the Club, You Ain't Shit" and a skit called "A Message to Ricardo Brown." Crip responded with "No Vaseline Part 2. The feud carried on from 2002 to 2005, while Dillinger released several solo efforts, including a DPGC album with Snoop Dogg, Superfly and Badass, and That Dog Pound Gangsta LP on his own. In 2005, Daz and Crip reconciled their differences at a West Coast Unity event hosted by Snoop Dogg. Crip proceeded to leave Death Row a second time, procuring rights to the name of That Dog Pound and reforming the duo with his former partner, who on his part ended his brief tenure at Jermaine Dupri's So Def. The duo immediately commenced to releasing albums, including Dillinger and Young Gotti 2, The Saga Continues, the Let's Ride Tonight EP, and Kali is active with Snoop Dogg as the DPG. Their next proper album came in the form of 2007's Dog Chit, and then in 2009 with That Was Then, This Is Now. In the works for Daz are 2 Dog Pound releases, one entitled 100 Ways, formerly West Coast Aftershock, through Snoop Dogg's Doggystyle Records, and one produced in conjunction with Pete Rock. 8. August 1, 2008, Daz Dillinger offered the new owners of Death Row Records to record videos for Dog Food. He also plans to repackage and release unreleased material.